Good morning. Today we're going to take a look at replacing motor mounts on automobiles. Many of you have issues with your motor mounts and need to replace them, and it may be something you're a little nervous to do. Fundamentally, motor mounts on all cars are basically the same as what we're going to show you today. Today we're going to actually do the motor mount replacement on a 740i BMW, which is an E38. But fundamentally, the principles we're going to show you will work on any car that you wish to replace the motor mounts on. One of the first things you want to do whenever you work on an automobile is be sure you think about safety. You want to be safe. You don't want anything to happen while you're working on the automobile. So today, we don't have a lift. We're going to be working on the driveway here. So one of the things we want to make sure is that the car doesn't roll. So be sure you have some kind of chalk or some kind of a block that you can put underneath the rear wheels to be sure that the car is not going to roll when you jack it up. Now, depending upon whether you're jacking up the back or the front, you may have to move the chocks, but we're going to be lifting the front of the car this time, so we need to be sure and have the chocks in the back of the car. Another thing that you may want to do is to disconnect the battery. Even though today we're not going to be doing anything directly with the electrical system, it's always a little bit safer as we are going to be moving the engine. And if one of the wires gets caught or stressed, we really don't want that to create a problem with the overall electronics of the car. So you may want to almost inevitably remove the battery terminal. Always remove the negative terminal when you're working on a vehicle. So now we have jacked up the car. We've got jack stands underneath it, again, to be safe. You don't want to really be working on the car where there's only a jack or a hydraulic lift jack type underneath the car. So we've got the jack stand underneath, we've got it up, and now we're ready to take off the top bolt. The top bolt is the one that's going to be on the tightest, so it may take a little extra oomph to get that one off. Again, make sure that you're safe in everything that you're doing. So we'll start loosening this bolt and start pulling this one off. So remember that the nuts on the top and the nuts on the bottom are going to be different sizes. On this particular vehicle, the nut on the top is a 16 millimeter. It takes a 16 millimeter socket. The ones on the bottom take a 13 millimeter socket. And now that I'm underneath the car, you can see that we're going to take off the bottom two nuts. And once we take off the bottom two nuts, then we are going to jack up the engine. And as we jack up the engine, we're going to do it slowly and carefully. Now, there's many spots you can jack up an engine from. You have to look at it carefully. Some of them, like this BMW, has a real solid oil pan, and so by spreading the weight across with a board, we can go ahead and use the oil pan. Some cars have a real thin oil pan, and you don't want to be doing that. So you need to look for other spots where it's safe and convenient to lift the motor. Now that we're jacking up the engine, be aware that watch carefully. You want to jack it up enough to be able to wiggle out the motor mount. You don't want to overdo it. So just keep going slowly and carefully as you jack up the engine, wiggle on the motor mount, and as soon as you can wiggle it out, then you're good. Go ahead and take that one out and then set the other one in. So now that we've set the other one in, we're going to slowly lower the engine and make sure we have all the screws aligned so as that they go back in the holes. Now in this situation, it's easy for one of the screws to get misaligned, and then you're going to start tearing up threads, or you're going to be blocking the engine from coming down properly. So take it slow and easy and make sure you align all the threads properly. Once it's down, then go ahead and put the bottom two nuts back on and torque them into spec. So now we've dropped the car back down onto the ground. Again, be very careful. We've tightened up all the nuts. We've got them to proper specifications. We've removed the chucks from behind the rear wheels. And so we're now ready to take it on a test drive. It's always good to take it on a small little test drive whenever you've done any car work. The other thing you might want to be sure and do, and that's check carefully under the hood to make sure, again, that the wires and any connecting hoses have not been disconnected accidentally. The other thing you might want to be sure and do, and that is be sure you have the proper tools. We'll have a list of tools at the bottom of this video for you to look at. Be sure to go through them and see if any of those are going to help you replace your motor mounts. Again, this has been a generic video, even though we did it on a BMW. It's very generic in how you replace motor mounts. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's been educational for you. Thank you very much.